Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to share my thoughts on the new Soulbound reward cards which have been revealed. You can see them through the screenshots that I'm going to share with you. And I guess this is from MavChat stuff. I actually don't even know where the images are screenshotted from, but it's a reliable source, and so I'm gonna review what I have to see. I'm gonna look at which cards look really powerful, which cards are underwhelming, are there any new synergies that I want to look forward to taking advantage of. Maybe that has some sort of price considerations, not for the Soulbound cards, but think if one Soulbound card partners really well with a card that is not Soulbound, maybe there's a financial opportunity in that you want to acquire more of the liquid card because of that great partnership. So there's probably lots to talk about. And then these are all my first reactions. I have no idea what these cards do. I haven't seen them before unless they've been publicly revealed before now. And to my knowledge, they haven't. So I think I'm going to be just as surprised and excited as you. So let's get into it. But before we do, my name is Dwayne Cunningham and I go by Infidel1258 and you can just call me 12. If you leave comments in the comment section below and I turn those into a video, I will give you a free raffle ticket this year for an opportunity to win a free plot of land. So do that. And lastly, if you want to support the YouTube channel, there's a couple ways to do that. You can support on the membership page and then you'll be invited weekly to our live events, or you can buy some merch. There's links in the description. Let's get into it. All right, so HL49 was kind enough to send me some pictures. First of all, if you don't know who HL49 is, he is a YouTuber that creates amazing content for the Splinterlands blockchain space. He covers from like everything from like a lower level to like the highest level really of the game. He's a great strategic mind. He has tons to say about meta, understanding and navigating kind of expertise within it, like trying to be the best fighter you can within the Splinterlands, but also more than that. So check out his channel. HL49 is his name. And he sent me these screenshots and we can start with fire. Make it a bit bigger. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so some of this is going to be, see, this is Mavs. And some of this is, you know, just old reward cards. But you click on the reward cards and we're seeing fire only. We can scroll through and we can see that there in fact are Ferox Defender is one of the cards on the screen here. Fire Caller is adjacent to that. I'll see how many there are that are new, and then we'll go back and we'll deal with them one at a time. Pyre Watch Devon. It's hard to read. Devil, probably. Yeah, Pyre Watch Devil. 3 mana there. Eternan Brune, I think. And that's the summoner with the gladiator ability. This must be from this. You know what this is probably from? Look at how they're locked. And so this is probably from like, well, I don't know. Anyways, so that's 4 or 5 right there, isn't it? And there's one more down here. Looks like Idri Pyre, Phyrexian Hero, and Sorrel the Bale. I might be misreading some of these names. The image quality is greatly deteriorating when I zoom in here. But we can definitely pick out the abilities, and I can tell you that these are all max level versions of it. It's hard to say whether they'll be, you know, they obviously will be lesser in sort of stats and abilities when you have fewer BCX. That'll almost be a separate conversation, separate video. We'll have to see when we get more information on that. But for now, max level circumstances which apply to me, excitingly. Common Ferox Defender. He's got Protect, he's got Repair, he's got Shatter. This reminds me a lot of, there's an archery monster from the fire team that has a similar kit, and I love it. It works really, really well for the fire team. Plus, Flamesmith. Flamesmith at the highest levels has Shatter, Repair. I love that because this works really well with a lot of the fire monsters that we have on the melee. Like you think of Grum for one. You think of what's that other guy's name? The really slow the forgotten one. Even Serpent of Flame, who I think has armor at higher levels. Yes, he does at higher levels. If you have some armor, Serpentine Soldier. Armor repair is so powerful, especially when the person can also put out their own damage. That's why I like Flame Smith. But this monster, Ferox Defender, is a melee monster, and he does not have reach. So he is either a main tank or he is a niche melee monster that would be primarily functional in a melee from any position rule set. And remember, there are 3 different rule sets where you can attack with melee from any position. I think it's called Equal Opportunity, Super Sneak, and there's one more. So there are 3 where you can attack from any position with your melee. And I would love this card in that context. But I don't love this card as a main tank. And it does look like that would be its theoretical strictest or closest utility. First of all, 3 melee damage is not very significant. Second of all, 3 speed is not very significant. At least in the current meta, neither 3 damage nor 3 speed are particularly unique or powerful. Then you look at 5 armor is great, but it's not void armor. And second of all, there's a lot more shatter. It seems like shatter is more prevalent these days. Then 8 hit points is actually quite low for a main tank. And then there's no damage reduction there at all. There's no shield, there's no void, there's no phase, there's no dodge or flight or anything to even avoid, let alone damage reduce. And so it actually seems very vulnerable. Now it is only 8 mana, and a lot of times nowadays tanks are getting into the much higher mana caps. You got 10, 12, 15 for tanks nowadays, to the point where 8 is almost a bit on the cheap side. But really, this kit lends itself to being like a backline defender in a melee, from any position situation. So, looks like cool artwork. Feels a bit niche to me. I don't know that I would be rushing out to, if I had the option to buy this, and this will be a soulbound reward card, so I won't be able to quote buy this. But it is one that I would not be particularly excited about receiving. Let's move on. I like it though. I love it if it could be in the back, because repair is always great. It's giving armor. I listed a few monsters it would work really well with, but again, it would need to be able to attack from any position. Moving on. Firecaller. This one looks like it's got that martyr ability. First of all, some of you might not even know what martyr is. It's a new ability to come into Splinterlands. Martyr is going to, this is my very quick definition of it. It's going to bloodlust benefit the adjacent monsters that are next to this thing. So when this thing dies, it will be, quote, martyred. It will benefit those that are closest to it. This is the impact. It's going to increase the stats on the 2 monsters or the 1 monster that's directly adjacent to Firecaller when it died. And so depending on where it's positioned and which monsters are next to it when it dies, you will see significant stat bonuses and buffs that will come out of that death. So Martyr is a cool new ability. I think it's going to take a little bit of RNG to figure out, right? It's going to take some luck, because you're not going to know how it's going to die, when it's going to die, how your opponent's going to directly attack. There's sometimes you can't control those things, and for those reasons, Martyr is going to be a little bit of randomness, but it sounds pretty powerful. If used in the right context, I could really imagine that thing being nasty because of the buff that it would provide to potentially 2 of your other monsters. Plus, look at this thing. For 5 mana, it's kicking out 4 archery damage with 4 speed, which to me, 4 speed is now the baseline of the beginning of fast. Like I said, with Ferox Defender, 3 is a little bit, meh. 4 is the new 3. 4 to me is like the beginning of fast. It's not exactly fast, but it's the beginning of, quick. Martyr is going to be really interesting and powerful, but again, how are you going to use it? How is it going to be maximally effective? How are you going to plan your build in such a way so that really helps your team with peak efficiency or whatever? One thing might be putting it in the sneak attack position so that it gets ends up being a defender when you're sneak attacked, and then it would buff whatever card's next to it. But recognize if you put that in the 6th position, the only card that's going to get the advantage of the martyr is the 5th card. And so is that worth it? Well, it's only 5 mana. So, 5 mana is not very much considering it's kicking out 4 damage with 4 speed. It's also got, that's Fury. Fury is the one that double damages taunt monsters, which is super important nowadays. And lastly, Snare. I actually really like Snare increasingly. Snare is an ability that will grow. It's one of the abilities that will grow in utility as the game gets longer. What do I mean? Snare means that every time you fire at a flying monster, you will 100% of the time hit it. And so Snare is helpful when you're against flyers. How often are you going to be against flyers? Well, it's true that not every card flies, and therefore you can't really, again, like I said about the Martyr, it's a little bit random when you end up fighting a flyer. But in Earthquake rule sets, you can probably imagine you're going to see flyers on the opponent's side. So for those reasons, that can be tempting. Plus, we also know with the evasive and the speed meta, it can be it's really awesome when you can bring ways of ensuring that you make contact with your opponent. Snare can be one of those ways. And so I do like Snare. I like it a lot. And I said a moment ago, it's going to get stronger and stronger. Why? Because the game is going to increasingly provide more and more cards to the game as new additions and booster packs get released. And every time there's a new card that has flying implemented, you then have one more potential target that can be struck with the Fire Colors Snare. It doesn't necessarily mean just because there's more flyers being brought to the game that they're going to be fielded more often, but it becomes increasingly likely that powerful, overpowered, like strong tanks or flying monsters, reach the highest level of success in the game when we see more and more cards, because more and more copies equals more and more flyers, which equals more and more opportunities to see a really good one, which would make Fire Caller that much better. That's like long term. It's one of those things, just like Giant Killer. It's just like even Fury. Those abilities are ones that grow in power, because the more taunt monsters there are, the more Fury is powerful, right? So I like that card. I like that card better than the first one. Let's keep going. Firewatch Devil. Okay, 3 mana. That's always, that's so cheap, man. 3 mana is nothing. And you're getting 3 damage output with 4 speed, and you're getting 3 hit points, which is very, very low. But look, it's got Life Leech. It has Dispel, which we already know is going to grow in sort of utility because of some of the recent changes, right? We talked about Martyr and how it's going to buff cards on the table. Well, Dispel is going to erase that buff. We also talked about there's going to be Gladiators coming to the game. They're going to be Bloodlusting. That Bloodlust can be dispelled. And so Dispel is actually going to be one that grows in sort of strength as the evolution of the meta, right? Lastly, Oppress. And Oppress is another one that we know is going to be growing because of the, what's it called? Weapons Expert or Weapons Training ability. It's another new ability that will come to some monsters that will essentially allow that one monster to lend its damage output to adjacent monsters. And so if you have a failed summoner which has 0 attack, if you have a Venari Heatsmith that has no type of attack standing next to a weapons trainer, the Venari Heatsmith will receive the damage type and I think quantity of damage output that its adjacent weapons trainer will have. So you can turn monsters with no attack into monsters with an attack. Now, they have no native attack, and so they are still vulnerable to Oppress. And so this card actually is very interesting to me. Between 3 mana being a really dirt cheap cost for that much damage output, good speed, low hit points is the one weakness, but I don't really care about that because of its Life Leech ability, because of these 2 abilities and how much they're going to be more important in the future. So I really like that one. That's only a rare card. Those first 2 were commons. The second one's rare. We have a rare summoner with 6 mana. As you can see, it's got the gladiator ability, meaning it's going to be able to play one more gladiator. So in regular rank battle, that's going to mean one gladiator. In guild brawls, it's going to mean 2 gladiators. If the rule set includes gladiator rule sets, then that potentially could be 3 within guild brawls. So there's going to be a lot more bloodlust running around, and that's why the spell again is going to be more powerful. And I like this. Eternum. I'm going to say Brute, I think it says. Brune, maybe. He's got the -2 armor. So he's got, that's like Bordis, I think, from the Untamed rares. -2 armor. There's a lot of armor in the game. You know, and recently there's some summoners that are dropping. There's a lot of Protect now, too. So it's never amazing when you get a negative, when you get a nerf to your opponent, right? It's not optimal because you don't know for a fact that your opponent is going to have armor for you to nerf. So it's better if you can plan your team in such a manner that you simply benefit your own team. You get +1 magic for all your monsters, and then you just build a magic team. And this, so I don't love this, but I do like it in the sense of there's an increasing amount of armor in the game lately. There's a Protect right here. There's a Protect on the new bear. I forget his name right now. The neutral bear reward card, or promo card rather. And then there are others too. And then summoners like Wraith, and I'm definitely forgetting some, but there are older ones also, right? Armor is prevalent. And then there's that rule set where everyone gets armored up. They all get 2 armor. Well, in this context, you could definitely drop in this summoner and immediately erase that intrinsic benefit that's coming from the rule set. So 6 mana, I don't love that. But of course, the gladiator is interesting. And if you're playing in guild brawls, this is going to be really potentially quite helpful. I think if you can get 2 or 3 bloodlusters on the field, that's wild. That's potentially game changing. Think about it. Think about fire. Just go like this. From fire, we have access to, a plethora of gladiators that are going to have bloodlust. One of them that I like is Chimney Wallstop. Imagine this. You bring Chimney Wallstop. It's a reverse speed. Maybe it's melee from any position. Chimney Wallstop comes out. He's got a good amount of damage, a good amount of hit points, a good amount of armor. He's got the reach. He's got the bloodlust. You also bring out your Grum Flameblade. Remember, it can be slow, reverse speed. Grum's in the first position. He's got the huge armor, the huge tank abilities, bloodlust. You get in a standard brawl. Maybe that would be, that would be it. But nowadays, with this new summoner that we just looked at, you're going to be able to bring... Grum is not a gladiator. He's a Chaos Legion card, but he happens to have bloodlust. You can bring 1 bloodlust, 2 bloodlust in your guild brawls. Plus, if you have that summoner, you can bring... Maybe you bring Aurello Abandon, who has the sneak and 3 damage output, and for 2 mana, he's another bloodluster. And that's only 2 summoners. Sorry, that's only 2 gladiators. That's going to be normal now within your guild brawls. But then there's also going to be a rule set that will allow you to play 1 more gladiator, which gets pretty crazy, right? You could theoretically be kicking out 4 bloodlusters on a team if the right rule set is in play. You've got the right splinter, you've got the right gladiators, and you've got the right summoners. That's wild. 4 bloodlusts on 1 team. So I like the gladiator rule set summoners. I am going to want them even if their abilities are a bit meh, because that alone is quite powerful. Carrying on. Looks like Idri Pyre. 5 speed, 5 armor, 13 hit points. Look at this. Taunt. 6 mana. Taunt. 18 hit points, guys. Magic Reflect. Archery Reflect. Phase. Whoa. And remember, weapons training, right? Weapons training is out there. Right here we have one. So we have Phyrexian Hero. But hang on, I feel like I said very little about this card, but it's going to need to partner with something like this that gives it the weapons training. But this is amazing. If this had no weapons training ability, this would be amazing, right? It'd be a huge tank. It's got as many hit points as a gelatinous cube or like a Bakjira. It's got armor on top of it. It's got magic reflect and archery reflect, which are so powerful nowadays with the amplify damage. Is it called amplify damage? The ability that increases the thorns and magic reflect damages. Yeah, amplify. Plus taunt. And taunt for only 6. Like, taunt has become very, very powerful. And I've been increasingly, playing with more than one taunt because I want to really funnel my opponent's attack. Well, for 6 mana, usually you don't get taunters. Usually taunters are 10 mana or more. And so this card I like a lot. And then bring to the table a card like this one, Phyrexian Hero, which has Weapons Trainer, has melee output of 5, and is a decent tank. And right, he's got Force Field, he's got Reach. So this card is perfectly meant to partner with this. So you put the Idri in the front with the taunt and the evasiveness and the reflect damage conditions. And then you bring the Phyrexian Hero, who's in the second spot, dropping 5 bombs with reflection seals with the Reach and the Weapons Trainer, and he's gonna impart his melee damage output to the Idri Fire or Pyre. So these two are must-haves. We have an Epic here in the Idri Pyre for 6 mana. This card is crazy good, and Phyrexian Hero is also. Reflection Shield has become really, really important because of amplify damage. Thorns has gotten quite nasty, and that is plus blast. Blast continues to be prevalent, and in fact, there's more and more blasters these days, and therefore, reflection shield is always good. So love these 2 cards, and one last one, Soriel the Bale, I guess. The artwork looks really cool, amazing. Looks like a goat or like a devil type look with these amazing horns. 3 magic output, slow speed, double strike with 3 damage. Whoa. Blind and rust. Okay. 3 damage with double strike is really nuts. And the rust is like kind of irrelevant because you're a magic damage dealer, unless you're going up against like for instance, a Wraith, in which case this becomes very helpful. 9 mana is maybe a bit much, but again, it's dropping bombs. Blind is always really powerful. One of my concerns would be, are you going to die before you fire? But you could bring out a card like the new legendary Fire Summoner with the 2 speed. You would be using a scatter shot, and you drop one shot one place, another shot another place. I like this card. It's not my favorite. I definitely like this partnership more, but this is an amazing legendary. Phyrexian Hero is probably the winner because he does so much by himself. But then Idri Fire or Pyre is like amazing, and I'm gonna want that a lot to work with Phyrexian Hero. In the meantime, I'd be happy to slap my weapons trainer on, for instance, a Venari Heatsmith. And so I'm saying, if you can get this card, your Heatsmith certainly goes up from 2 pennies worth of utility to, much more significant, right? This card is Venari Heatsmith for 3 mana, has a good amount of, stuff going for it, and 8 hit points, and it could work together with a card like this really well. So these are strong. I feel like these 2 I just talked about are the best. This is probably number 3, but I might say Firewatch Devil is number 3 because I think these 2 Dispel and Oppress are going to be super powerful. And for only 3 mana, that's a lot of damage output, and the Life Leech will go far. Yeah. Let's move on. That's the fire team. It's gonna be a long video. That was 26 minutes. I'm trying to decide if I should keep going. I'm going to keep going, and we'll just chop it if we... Let's see. Maybe I'll do 2. I'll do blue this time, and I'm going to stop there. Okay, so from the blue splinter, we've got Swamp Spitter, which looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and I'm loving it. Actually looks like the Last Ronin. If you guys don't know what the Last Ronin is, do yourself a favor and figure that out. It's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic book series that's amazing. 4 damage output from the archery, 4 speed, 3 armor, 6 hit points. Again with the repair, and it looks like that's Giant Killer. Giant Killer double damages to anybody with over 10 mana cost. This is a higher mana cost monster for an archery monster. It doesn't have close range. It does have armor. And of course, there are rule sets where you can fire with archery from the first position, and your armor would self-repair, which is cool. The Giant Killer is always nice, and like I said, it's one of those abilities that will grow in the number of times it becomes applicable, because there will be, as we get more and more 10 mana monsters, you'll see more and more Giant Killer implications. So I like it. I like the artwork a lot. I think it's a strong card. I don't know if I love it. It is a common card. I don't have much more to say about it than that. Repair is always good. Giant Killer is cool. It is quite strong. I don't know if I love it. Coastal Sentry. 5 melee, 10 mana, 3 armor, 7 hit points. No sense of damage mitigation at all. This is a crazy glass cannon. 5 melee, 5 speed, double strike, piercing, knockout, which does double damage if your opponent is stunned. But you're super vulnerable. Considering your 10 mana, you will get giant killed if you're struck, and you have no damage reduction at all on this card. So if there's a monster out there with damage, with magic damage, and that has giant killer, you're done. And I can think of one from the fire team. What's it called? It's one of the Djinns. Djinn Inferni, I think it's called. I feel like it's an epic. Djinn Inferni. Giant killer. Even at level 1, this thing has giant killer and 3 damage output. At level 6, which that card we just looked at, that new water card, is a max level. So you might be going up against the Djinn Inferni max level doing 5, which is 10, and you're instantly killed. This thing fires before you, right? Because this is a 4-speed Djinn Inferni, and this water card is a 5-speed. Oh, my bad. I thought it was slower. So you better fire first. There's a strong possibility this card dies in the first round every round, unless you're using it in a melee from any position and you're putting it in the back where it's really, really safe. But I do love it. I love that sort of card, the kind of card that can absolutely just snowball, destroy your opponent if they don't see it coming. That's a lot of fun. And sometimes it's melee, and then another time it's archery, and another time it's magic, and it gives you these different looks with the same splinter. So I love that card. And the artwork looks amazing. She looks cool. She's got this crazy 1980s rock star hair. She looks like a mermaid maybe. Coastal Sentry, yeah, she's probably a mermaid. Defender of the shores. Who else is here? Okay, Riverboat Captain. I don't know about this artwork. He looks kind of like a homeless dude with who stole a flashy suit. But again, maybe I can't see from the quality of the image is not optimal here. 3 magic, 2 speed, blast damage again. Remember we said earlier blast is more common these days, so reflection shield is even more important. Affliction is always great. Fury is growing in sort of its importance. I like this card for 6 mana. It's slow is a problem, but sometimes slow is a benefit. So I like this card. I like Coastal Sentry way more. Swamp Spitter is a distant third. Let's keep going. Pembroke Nymph, +1 hit point, and the Gladiator. The artwork looks cool. She looks kind of almost like, Southeast Asian. She kind of looks like something out of a Aquaman, she'd be married to Aquaman. 1 hit point's always cool. And gladiators, right? There is no blue monster that has bloodlust at this moment. And so this is one of the teams that bloodlust will be at maximum 3, right? Because it'll be if you're playing in a brawl, you get 1. If you're playing with Pembroke and Nymph, you get 1. If you get that rule set, you could potentially get a 3rd. So you could theoretically play with 3 bloodlusters, 3 gladiators, using Pembroke in the brawl with the special rule set. Fire is a bit, and water are a bit unique in the fact that they can bring out that 4th through theoretically. Yeah, of course I like it. Okay, Noah the Just. Looks like really great artwork again. Amazing speed, 5 mana, 13 hit points with armor and health. He's got rust, he's got dodge, he's got backfire, he's got martyr. See, this I like a lot. This might even be better than that fire version. But remember, the fire version had magic reflect and archery backfire or whatever. But this one's got martyr, so you put it in the first position and you put, hopefully, yeah, there's a weapons trainer, but he doesn't have reach. Look at that. He does not have reach. So I actually, the fire combo so far I like better. But this is an amazing card. You would theoretically put Master let's focus first on Noah the Just. Super fast, 6 speed. Then you got dodge too. Love that. And then you bring, of course, a bit of speed manipulation. This could get squirrely, You unfortunately, you don't have phase. So magic's going to put you down easy. Martyr's nice, right? This is a good sniper protector, right? A sniper shield, because it has no intrinsic attack. I like it. I want it. Zulu Mastermind. I think that says Kulu Mastermind. 4 melee, 5 speed, 9 hit points. Like a strong, fast tank with no significant damage reduction. He does have shield, actually. So you're going to be really susceptible to magic, though, right? You only have 9 hit points. You have no void armor or anything like that. No phase, no magic reflect. You do have the weapons trainer. But see, the Mastermind's weapons trainer is not going to lend itself as well to Noah the Just as compared to the fire team that had the primary tank was the no attack monster with the fire team. Whereas the primary attacker, the first position monster, is the weapons trainer, meaning this one needs reach, and it doesn't have it. Now, in melee from any position, you could bring your Zulu Mastermind, and you bring the Noah the Just, and you're going to be just fine. Put them side by side in the back, and it's going to be just fine. Let's carry on. There's more here. Shield. It's a pretty traditional looking tank. I like it. The Oppress, like I said, is going to be increasingly helpful. The Enrage, picture this: 4 damage. You get even 1 Inspire from a Demented Shark or something. You're up to 5. You go up to 8 because of the Enrage. Then you oppress something for 16. So this could be pretty nasty. Plus the weapons trainer is going to apply onto your Noah, which can be, in the right context, very powerful. But so far I like the fire team better. Let's carry on. One more. Musa Saline, I think it is. 3 mana, 2 magic, 4 speed, 3 hit points, scavenge, shatter, dispel. Love it. Coastal Sentry is by far the best of all of these today shown on the blue team. Second, a close second, is Musa Saline. Close because it's only 3 mana. Close because it's doing a good amount of damage and leans into an existing meta for the blue team, right? Magic. And lastly, Scavenge is so powerful. It's just so powerful. You can build a team with 2 or 3 Scavengers and find that by the end of the you start the round, the game, with relatively equal hit points. By the end of it, your opponent has to go through 15 more hit points than you do, because on 2 or 3 or 4 Scavengers, which you can build teams like that now, are going to each get 1 more hit point every time somebody dies, even their own friendlies. And so it ends up being You know, every time a guy dies, when you have 4 scavengers, that's 4 new hit points that they got to work through. And yeah, I love scavenge. I find it really powerful. 3 mana is a very reasonable cost for something like this. This good speed, good damage. Shatter is, like I said earlier, increasingly important. Dispel is also, love it. So Coastal Sentry, definitely my favorite buy. I see a lot of utility in Mastermind, although I see some pronounced vulnerabilities. I like Musa a lot. I like Noah, but not a lot. Not a lot. I do like it, like quite a bit. Let's put it that way. But I'm not a huge fan of the Riverboat Captain. Too slow. And I'm not a huge fan of the Swamp Spitter because the archery and no close range. Let's carry. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll do the others in a separate video because that is 40 minutes. Okay, guys, thanks so much for your time and attention. I hope you're having an amazing day. Hope you enjoy the sort of analysis of these new cards that we're going to be getting from the Soulbound rewards. And if you have any questions or comments on the blue or the fire or the water splinters that we just discussed, please drop them below. I'd love to do follow-ups on maybe you guys have, you know, theories about how some of these cards I just talked about will be utilized really powerfully, and I overlooked that. Let me know. Then I can maybe do a shorter follow-up video addressing certain key issues. Leave it there, guys. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day. God bless.